Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Tips for Parents of Teens here at Raising Remarkable Teenagers. And as you guys know, every Tuesday, we bring you an amazing guests who bring you value, guests who also have lived experiences, people of authority, people that we can listen to because not only are they experts in their field, but they also have lived experiences in whatever they are talking about. And today I'm so delighted to bring you Lydia Mungai. And Lydia is a mother first, I think. Oh, well, of course you were Lydia before you were a mother, but I love you as a mother so much because I know what a great mother you are. And I'm not just saying this because you're stood here, but you're a great mother and also you're a great coach. And Lydia is going to be sharing with us how to come back from setbacks, recalibrate, because we all know that life hits us in the teeth. So we are constantly having setbacks of all kinds. But how do we make those setbacks comebacks? So that's what Lydia is going to be sharing with us. And also she's going to be sharing with us about her parenting lived journeys. So I'll leave that for Lydia, this beautiful coach, to introduce, to add on to this, because I don't think I'll do you justice if I carry on introducing you, Lydia. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach Angie. It's such a pleasure to join you today for this conversation. We don't coach, you and I, sometimes we just have conversation, in what we call inspired conversation. So thank you. It's such an honor to be joined by your audience today and for you to invite me to be a guest. We've worked together many times, and it's so exciting to parent young people. Well, my name is Lydia, as Coach Andy has rightly said. I am her friend,
Yeah.
but my brand name is She Inspires All. That is what I have been called to do. I am a certified coach. I am an inspirational speaker. I am a mentor. I have mentored hundreds and hundreds of young people, especially when I was in Kenya, working with communities and working with young people. That's something that I'm quite passionate about. I'm also an international development practitioner. That gives me space. I mean, the whole world, really, the different corners of the world, to be able to influence people, but also to lead people in our organization. I also mentor people and coach people that are, especially women who are stuck, who have been faced by setbacks, or who have, hit setbacks in their lives, and they don't know how to move forward. And there are many times, Coach Andy, when we are faced by blocks
Yes.
on our path, and we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I have been through quite a number of setbacks in my life. And so from my inspiring journey, there are lessons that I have learned. There are strategies that I have used to be able to move from one level to the other, or to be able to move successfully to the other side of the road. I use 5 R's, which I will not talk about, to be able to help and work with people. I don't just coach, I mentor. I work with people through a journey, because mine has been a journey. But you know what? There are so many people who look up to me, especially young people, mothers, my colleagues, my work, the people that are around me, my friends, and they think that I am this very strong woman, which I think I am. And they think that I'm quite successful, and I'm glad to be successful. And I take pride in my children, and especially raising my children. I've been widowed for the past, I think this is the 13th year, and it is not easy to parent children alone. It is not easy, Angie. Sometimes there are lowlights, there are highlights, there are joys, there are sorrows. There are things that you miss that the other person or your spouse or your better part or your better person would have brought value to maybe a conversation, or seeing your children graduate from one level to the other, or even those, or even or simple things like a simple conversation. So it is not easy to parent children alone. And as I look at my career and my title at work and the influence that I have had across the world, I think my biggest joy is to be able to parent my two children, Favor and Deborah. I am so excited that they are now young adults. They are no longer children. And you'll be pleased to know that I have one girl who is very special to me, because she is.
Whoa, Lydia. Now, before we go there, you've said so many things, and I'm sure everyone's wondering, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh my goodness. How, like you're saying this thing after, and people are probably, even to be honest, I've heard those stories so many times, but every time you say, I begin to sweat because I'm thinking, and we really need to know, how does someone navigate such kind of setbacks? So one of the first things and one of the beliefs we have here at Raising Remarkable Teenagers is being intentional, right? And from what I'm hearing, I'm thinking, there's no way, Lydia, you'd have done that without having been intentional. There is no, and you know what? I've heard you, and I know you said you're not going to mention those 5 R's, but I think I'm going to suck them out of you. You know why? Because our parents here want to hear them, but I'm sure. But what we can do as well is send everyone to come looking for you for more, because we've only got an hour.
Yes.
But I still would love you to mention them. But in terms of being intentional, tell us a little bit about why being intentional is so important for us to be able to move forward, considering obviously all the setbacks that you have mentioned. You've mentioned so many things. I'm like, and to be, guys, I'm so authentic. I think you can see, I begin to sweat every time, Lydia, you talk about those things. I'm like, how can one person navigate that? So talk to us about being intentional, and then please bless our family here, our community, our village with the 5S. But we're not going to go deep into it. They can come and look for you for that. But we really want to hear that.
Yeah. Well, being intentional. I think let's start with there. You've got to be intentional. What is being intentional? If you're watching us, please. What is this being intentional or about, before we even talk about Lydia being intentional?
Did you see me grabbing a pen and paper?
Yes. And being intentional, I believe begins with you. It is something that is embedded. It has to come from your heart. It has to come from deep within you. You've got to be intentional first, an intentional person first, with yourself, with your self-care, with your skill sets, with who you truly are, with defining and finding out who you truly are before you even unearth what being intentional means. So for me, number one, to be an intentional parent, I have to be intentional with defining what intentional means to me.
Wow.
In my skill sets, what's being intentional in sharpening my skills? What does that mean? What does that entail? How does it look like? In being intentional, in carving out, I would say, my routines. How does that look like to me as Lydia? Before I even, before I even got to my children, to use the skill sets that I have, to use the values that I have intentionally cultivated in my life to be able to support my children. Because if you're not, and as an individual, if you're not intentional in taking care of yourself, in looking at yourself, in defining you are by yourself, what you're being intentional about, then you're not able to pass that on to your children. And so for me, I am intentional in the way that I guide my children, for instance, and not just guiding, because nowadays there's inference from right and left. And so it is knowing, and the deeper knowing of what do I tell them and why am I telling them to do 1, 2, 3. If, for instance, we are looking at this is just an example of routines. When you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that you do? Again, where intentionality begins, is a skill, is sharpening your skill. Have I done it myself? Have I been intentional myself in making sure that that skill is properly sharpened in my life, and that it is not just something that I am telling my children to do, but I'm doing it so that then they are able to either copy it, or they're not able, that they cannot question me. Mommy, why are you telling us to do this? And you're doing the opposite. And they're very good in pointing out mistakes.
Absolutely.
So intentionality begins with me.
Wow. You guys, did you hear that?
And that is why I find your program or your coaching program very expanded, because it begins with the parents before you even talk to the teenagers. It begins with us as parents.
Yes.
Nudging us to be intentional.
Wow. Wow, Lydia, this is so good. You guys, I know I can't speak everything that Lydia has spoken, because it was just amazing. It was just powerful. But one of the things that Lydia has reiterated is being intentional begins with us and begins from inside. Even before you decide, I'm going to be intentional about how I parent, because to sum what you have said, I would say that what you're trying to tell us here as a community is that unless our cup is filled, we have nothing to give.
Yes.
And unless our cup is filled, unless we have it in our hand, we can't pass on anything, no matter how much we try.
Yes.
That means even though we consider ourselves good people,
yes,
if we haven't got, like you said, you talked about the skills, you talked about the strategies for ourselves first, and then we pass them on to others. That is, every time I hear people describe what intentional means, it just expands my mind, because there are so many ways to hear this and to hear what you have said. I'm challenged as well, again, once more, to ask myself that what I'm asking my daughter, I have a teenage daughter as well, you guys know that, and those who don't know yet, yes, we are both parents here. We've got teenagers and adolescent kids. So apart from just talking about proper psychological strategies and coaching strategies as Lydia has, we're talking about lived experiences. So you talked about first sharpening ourselves, sharpening our skills in order to pass them on to, that is so amazing. Another question I want to ask you, Lydia, here, because it's one of the things that a lot of what we are trying to do is break down and burst a lot of beliefs surrounding how we live our lives and how we parent our young people. And I know that you are a neuro-linguistic practitioner, and that means for those of us who may who that may be the first time they're hearing that term, is where it's about changing mindset. It's about changing. And this is where I talk about bursting beliefs, but I know Lydia will talk about how do you reframe? How do you renew? How do you recalibrate? For example, if I always thought, oh, like, oh, we've got to be cruel to be kind, something like that. Really think about it. When you're being cruel to your kids in order to make them be kind, is that even a reasonable thing? So talk to us about some of the thinking, and you can tell us from even, and I know you mentioned about parenting a young person who has extra other needs, like most people, most parents, I mean, I would say, to be honest, parenting a kid in itself is a challenge, because it's like trying to hold on to wind, because wind has its own life.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you know that poem, and we share it a lot here. It's by Khalil Gibran, and it says, our children are not our children.
Yeah.
They are the children of life. No, they are the product of life wanting to express itself. So parenting any kid, whether they have additional needs or not, is a challenge. Now, when you have one that listens to a different drama in their own way, I want us to speak to us about that, about the courage that it takes, about the authenticity that it takes, and about maybe it's not even challenging, maybe it's us who think it's challenging because we haven't got the unconditional love that really, as people, we should have. Speak to us about beliefs, either of either single parents, because you there's so many. I think, Lydia, you need to be here for 5 days, because you've talked about being a single mother, and you talked about being a widow. You talked about parenting a young person with additional needs. Now, I don't even know which bit we want to talk about, because I'll leave it to you to choose to tell us what kind of beliefs are holding us back as parents and as people, really.
Yeah. Thank you, Coach Angie. I'll do a mixed grill if that helps.
Please.
Maybe to add to the complexity of my journey. I was brought up by a single mom. I think my mom gave birth to me when she was 16. We were those children who were born in the kitchen. There was a name. Children that were born in the kitchen. There's a Kikuyu. There's a stigma
Yes.
around children that were born out of wedlock.
Mm.
And I've also supported so many young people who are born out of wedlock. And one of the stigma, especially from where I sit as a mother, is that our children are not. It's like they are broken. It's like they are not complete. Why? Because of lack of one parent. And for me, that's a stigma, but it is also a belief that our children are not complete.
Whoa, Lydia, I've never heard that said like that before.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And that's why people focus, where we focus, where we focus our energy goes there. That's why people have focused on researching children that were born out of wedlock, and some of them that have gone into drugs and to and jail, and then the number of them, and so on. And when I am with people, of course, most of them do not even know whether I am a single parent or not, especially those who do not know me. I am very open that I'm a single parent. I didn't choose. Because there are those who did not choose, like myself. I got widowed. I thought we'd bring up our children, with my late husband. We didn't. He went. That is life. I always remind people that this child, my children, are as complete as their children.
Absolutely.
Why? Because you and I and everyone know that there is no child who is a mistake
No,
in this world. There's
absolutely.
no child who chose to be born in the family that child was born. You did not choose to be born in your family. I did not choose to be born in my family. Those who are born by two in a what they call a home where you have a father and a mother did not choose to be born in that home.
Mm.
They did not have time to even negotiate with whoever who created them or whoever who made them. And you know, and please, in our language, we say, bribe them, bribe whoever who created them, that they should be born in that family so that they can be complete, or so that they can bring their children in a complete way.
Mm.
No, nobody chose.
So
They
what you're saying is that is a very toxic belief.
Yes, it is.
People to think that because one child has a single parent or is orphaned or it's, you know, is the kid is not complete. And you know what? I'm 100% with you. I can tell you, Lydia, I have worked with people with what you would think, you know, this is what we call, these days I put it in quotation marks, good family.
Yeah.
There's none of that.
No.
There's none of that. Every child that is born is just as full and as complete as anyone else anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And that is something, but I believe we as parents have to break that stigma before it falls on our kids.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you talked about two families. People are single for all sorts of reasons.
Yes.
It could be unfortunate, like yours was the death.
Yeah.
Sometimes, some people say sometimes it's divorce,
yeah.
right? Sometimes it's choice, like proper choice. Maybe someone has had their own, they've decided, and I know many people, many parents who are doing just okay, and they decided, you know what?
Yeah.
I can't deal with this. I'm gonna just have the kid, and that's okay. And that kid is fine. In fact, in research, we find that as long as a child has one primary caregiver, and listen to this, guys, let me bust another of your beliefs and bubbles. It does not even have to be the parent, just one person.
Yeah, who is a caregiver?
Yeah, who's a caregiver that believes in them, that believes they are whole, that kid can thrive. So we need to stop this perfectionism of, oh, I'm better than you know, or comparing or stigmatizing other people or other kids, especially kids, because as Lydia said, they had no choice at all, right? So I think that is something, but it's, again, it's something we as grown-ups need to work on. So tell us, so in terms of, for example, in your own situation or in the people that you have coached, because I know you have worked with people who have had such kind of setbacks and maybe they're going through that. How do you help them reframe to begin to believe and think, actually, I'm okay? And in that case, I'm going to bring my children up as that they are okay. Can you speak to that, please, Lydia?
Yes, and the truth is, as I was saying, these children did not choose to be born in that family, and so for me, is to help them to know the truth, because the truth is they are, you know, as people. And I know that this could be a stigma or a word or a limiting thing of many years ago, where children would be called bastards.
Oh, yeah.
Bastards. You know, for me, is to help them to affirm that they are okay, they are complete, they are good, they are enough, they are unique.
Wow.
They are powerful. They have a destiny. They have a dream. They should go after their own dreams.
Absolutely.
And one thing that maybe they will carry in their heart forever is their fingerprints. Their fingerprints are unique.
Absolutely.
Even for those that have siblings or twins that are twins, their fingerprints are different. None is identical to another. And they are complete, because for those that have eyes, Coach Angie, your eyes are like my eyes. You use your eyes to see. You use your mouth to talk. You use your nose like I do. You use your fingers like I do. You use your hand like you use your feet like I do. Unless you do not have, you are blessed. You are differently abled. But God has also given you other limbs or other would I call them something else to show that you are special and you are able to do the things that other people are able to do. So if I have the eyes like my child has your eyes like yours, then there's no difference. They are able to thrive. They are able to live a fulfilled life. They are able to avoid the jail. They are able to avoid drugs. They are able to live life better than any other child. Why? Because they are unique.
Absolutely.
It is a narrative, and to counter those narratives that are spoken by other people to their lives, and know that they are the creators of their own lives.
Wow, that is so powerful.
Narratives. They are able to model their lives with God's help, of course, the way that God wanted them to live, and that they are not limited.
Wow. But Lydia, they need to hear this.
In a single, by a single parent, they are not limited. And we have seen so many people that are thriving, that are doing so well.
Absolutely. For example, you, for example, me, right? And so many other people, you know? Yeah. You guys know, I mean, we're not going to tell all the stories here, but as you work with us, if you choose to work with Coach Lydia, you will hear all those stories. You know, you will hear a lot of those backstories, right? If you choose to work with me, you will hear all those backstories, because we tell them, because we are authentic, and it's in sharing our testimonies that we are able to empower other people. So that believing that your kid is less or your kid is better than another, that is something that we as parents can drop. So do you to share with us another belief that is so toxic, that can hamper the development, the well-being of our young people and even ourselves?
Well, I guess it is, and I don't know, I think we've talked about not being good enough. There is I think most children that are brought by single parents tend to believe that they are not good enough. Yes, other people tell them that they are not good enough, but there's also the self-talk. I am not good enough. I am not good enough. And it is not just young people, adults as well. That's a narrative. That's a self-talk that we are not good enough. I am not good enough. I'm not a good enough parent because I am the single income earner. Because I do not have a parent. I do not have a husband.
A partner, oh yeah.
Or a partner or a wife. I am a parent. So I am not good enough. Or
even you're a grandmother looking after, we know these situations, you're a grandmother looking after your kids, or even an auntie looking after, kids, because we have all these situations happening all the time. And one of the things I like to say, and I speak to my community about this, is that none of us is invincible to the issues of the world. You could be the one pointing at other person, and then tomorrow you're gone. So what happens to your kids? They have to be taken care of by an auntie. But if for the life of you, you have looked at other kids who are being taken care of by their aunties, that's not good enough. So where does that leave your kids? That's what you're putting them into. I think it's very important for us to recognize that that our young people can thrive.
Yeah.
And that is a story we need to tell them. But this is what I want you to coach us, Lydia. Let's say, because I'm feeling, guys, this is not something I usually ask our guests to do, but I know, Lydia, you're such a fantastic coach. I want you to, if you identify that to be a problem for me, I know you talked about us working on ourselves first, because it's impossible to tell your kid that they are gorgeous, that they are enough, when you yourself don't feel enough, right? So if a parent, let me even take myself, if I came to you with a problem like that, how would you just give us sort of a 2-minute sort of mind shifting, mind reframing process? Maybe it might be time to introduce that 5 that you talked about. That's what I'm trying to dig from you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Then allow me to introduce the five R's. They are very simple, Coach Angie. One is looking at the reality. So R number 1 is reality.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I right now? Maybe it could be a limiting belief.
Yeah.
It could be you want to set a goal on being an intentional parent.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I right now? And where do I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
The first R of reality, we look at the reality of where you are, but
Mm-hmm.
also extend to where you want to be. If I want to go to London, I will set my sat nav from where I am right now.
Yes.
And set my way to London and see the gap in between.
Mm-hmm.
And after establishing the gap between, then I have to resolve. R number 2, resolve that I must go. I must change. I must change this situation. I must change this narrative. I must change this limiting belief. I must change my current situation for better.
So what you're saying is, for you to move from where you are to go to London, you must make a move. You cannot just stand there. So there's resolve, right? So you must make that decision.
Yes.
Wow, resolve, yeah.
And you know, there is deciding too. You can decide to and resolve, commit